The reel runs out, and as the film is being changed, a hand reaches out of the gloom and offers the figure in the armchair a cigarette. He fumbles it out of the pack and bows his head to take a light. There is the flash, then flutter of flame, and in it his face is momentarily visible. Older, gaunter, and more dishevelled, it is still recognisably the man from the screen, Rudolf Hess, former Deputy Führer of the Third Reich. The film had been Rotherham's idea. He'd seen it first in 1936 in Berlin, taking a tram across town to a cinema in a district where he didn't think anyone would know him, not telling his mother where he was going. She had been pressing for them to leave Germany for months by then, ever since his grandparents had fled to France the previous year. "But they're Jewish," he'd told her, as if she might have overlooked the fact. "It's disgraceful how they've been hounded, but we aren't." His father, long dead, had been, but his mother was the daughter of German Lutherans who'd settled in Canada and made a fortune in timber. They'd sent her back to the motherland to study in Göttingen, where she'd met his father in 1912. In the eyes of Jews, the eyes of his father's family, say, who had spurned his marriage and supported his son and widow only from a distance, Rotherham wasn't one of them. Yet in the eyes of the Nazis, he was. A Mischling, at least. A half-Jew. He'd been dead set against leaving, even after seeing a fellow beaten in the street. It had happened so fast. The slap of running feet, a man rounding the corner, hand on his hat, chased by 3 others. Rotherham had no idea what was going on, even as the boots went in. And then it was over, the thugs charging off, their victim curled on the wet cobbles. It was a busy street, and no one moved. Just watched the man roll onto one knee, pause for a moment, taking stock of his injuries, then pull himself to his feet and limp hurriedly away, not looking at any of them. As if ashamed, Rotherham thought. He'd barely realised what was happening, yet he felt as if he'd failed. Not a test of courage, not that, he told himself, but a test of comprehension. He felt stupid standing there gawking like all the rest, too slow on the uptake to have time to fear for himself. When he told his mother, she clutched his hand and made him promise not to get involved in such things. He shook her off in disgust, repeated that he hadn't been afraid. But she told him sharply, "You should have been." So he had gone to see the film the next week to prove something. He arrived early and slipped into a seat towards the rear, hoping it would be a small crowd. But by the time the main feature began, the theatre was full. He sat through the first half hour, his shoulders hunched, his arms crossed tightly to avoid any contact with the fellows sitting on either side of him. They were with their girlfriends. It had been a mistake to sit near the back, and when after about 10 minutes the boy to his left started to kiss his girl, Rotherham didn't know what was making him more uncomfortable, the film or the couple. He was actually grateful when someone behind them harumphed loudly, "Show some respect!" When 20 minutes later the boy on his right tried something, Rotherham distinctly heard the girl slap the fellow's hand away. By then, though, he was caught up in the film, its ecstatic pageantry. The fervent masses on the screen seemed to merge with the crowd around him in the theatre. It might have been the 2 couples flanking him, but by the time the film was over, he felt violently lonely. He wanted to have even a bit part in this great drama, and for a brief while in the darkened cinema, invisible in his seat, he felt as if he did. But then the lights came up and he hurried out, panicked by the sudden piercing thought that if he could, he would want nothing more than to join the Nazis. In his haste, he trod on the toes of one of the girls, fleeing before he could apologise, fleeing from her little hiss of anger, her pointing finger. Outside, he must have run half a mile, feeling as if the crowd were at his back, ready to kill him for stepping on some girl's toes. That was the day he realised he and his mother would have to leave. It was her old Canadian connections that made it possible for them to come to England. Rotherham wondered what his father, killed at Verdun, would have made of that. Conceived in 1915 during his father's last leave, Rotherham had never met the man, although he still kept his frayed campaign ribbons pressed in his wallet, as proud of them as he was ashamed of having run from Germany. He'd show them with a kind of shy defiance to Colonel Hawkins one night in 1941, shortly after he'd been seconded to the political...